So recently, on my birthday of all days this year, a YouTuber named Easy Peasy released a video titled, "I interviewed somebody who was blacklisted from the animation industry, and he knows some things." And it blew up, with, as I make my video, almost 300,000 views, and many people felt that it was going to be the death of animation as we know it. As Easy's anonymous source had a lot of dirt on a lot of creators, and all the sick and disgusting things they did in the behind the scenes, like putting gay characters in their cartoons, and hiring Tumblr artists to work on the show, and, hiring their friends from CalArts to also work on their show. The horror! I was originally going to do an investigation-style video where I look at all those claims made in Easy's video and debunk them using the knowledge I have about the animation industry, not to mention all the evidence that's presented before me if you take 5 minutes to do some research, because I'm not just some brain-dead idiot who believes everything that he's told. But then, my buddy Trent Carpenter brought to my attention a 4chan post that pretty much shot this whole thing out of the water. And this is the evidence that pretty much showed me what I knew the whole time. This video is bullshit. And you know, I didn't even need this 4chan post to already know that this video was bullshit, because there were so many red flags right from the start. Like, Easy keeping his source anonymous despite being blacklisted from the industry. If you're blacklisted, what more do you have to lose? Just say your name so we can do the proper research and see that you were involved in these incidents, and maybe that would help prove your points. You might argue, oh, but he doesn't want to get sued and blah, 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 blah. It's like, what would he get sued for? Unless it was slander. Apparently, from Easy's 3-hour interview with this guy, he only got 30 minutes worth of stuff to talk about in the video. Yeah, he was probably just summarizing to shorten the video length down. But you know, if this is a big breakthrough and can ruin the animation industry as we know it, why not release the whole thing? That's just me. I don't want any details left out. I want to know everything if this is such a big deal. But Easy's point for that was he didn't want the guy to be identified from his voice. You couldn't just, I don't know, modify his voice in Audacity or something like that to be unrecognized? Even crime shows do that. Why couldn't you? Why couldn't you, Easy? And another thing, why'd this source interview Easy of all people? I mean, don't get me wrong, Easy has kind of a decent following, but why didn't he tell somebody like Cartoon Brew, probably the biggest animation news site on the internet? That's what the Crew of Sausage Party did, and they got the director of that exposed. And it worked. Not to mention that Cartoon Brew was the first source that broke the news about Chris Savino and his dark past. So yeah, why Easy of all places? Maybe it's because he made videos on shows like Steven Universe and Star vs. the Forces of Evil. And not to bring up people's political views, but yeah, he's one of those anti-feminist SJW types. And considering all the stuff I found from the 4chan thread, it really supports that theory I have. So my guess is this guy just picked Easy to interview because he probably had a feeling that Easy would believe him, because I guess Easy likes digging up dirt on people he don't like, especially when it's folks who have the nerve to put gay kissing in kids' cartoons. But you know, I originally was going to be nice. I was going to give Easy the benefit of the doubt, say that he was just an innocent third party in all this. He didn't mean to push any narratives or agendas and make people think the way he thought. He just felt he stumbled upon some truth and wanted to let the people know about it, because I'm a believer of truth, and I don't think it should ever be hidden. And I can respect him for that. But considering what I found out about this case, I'm afraid I can't do that anymore. And I think he's definitely guilty when it comes to this. So I think I've babbled on enough. Let's dive into this rabbit hole and prove just how much bullshit this video is. Links to Easy's video and the 4chan thread will be in the description, so you folks can do your own research, because unlike Easy, I love citing my sources. First, I'm going to present the details from what I found out, and then lastly, I'm going to give my own opinions on this whole thing. Let's do this. So, from what I can gather, the guy behind this anonymous interview is a guy by the name of Luke Weber, an independent comic artist who tried to get his comic, Bikini Cowboy, off with a Kickstarter campaign, but it ultimately flopped. A couple days before Easy Peasy's video was posted, Shortly before Easy Peasy's video was uploaded, Luke posted a gif of the Joker from the film The Dark Knight blowing up the hospital, and the only thing Luke wrote about this post was a shrugging shoulders emoticon. Luke was also spotting a stream that Earthworm Jim creator Doug Tenapel did to showcase some lesser-known independent comic book artists. In the stream, Luke mentions being blacklisted from the animation industry. He also makes constant references to Comicsgate, Gamergate, some anti-SJW messages here and there. I didn't watch the whole thing because it's really long, but that's what I read based on the 4chan posts. I'll have a link to that video in the description as well. More evidence against Luke is that his name appears in the credits of episodes of Steven Universe and Gravity Falls. His name didn't last very long. Luke has also posted self-insert fan art of him hanging out with Pearl from Steven Universe, implying that he has a crush on her. This is also some evidence supporting the theory that Rebecca Sugar didn't like him because he had some creepy fetishes. Also in the Doug Tenapel stream, Luke mentions the list of animators blacklisted from the animation industry because of the women who didn't like working with them, and most likely due to lewd behavior they had behind the scenes. Also from the 4chan posts, Luke is apparently a schizophrenic, making him extremely hard to work with, which ultimately led to him getting blacklisted from the industry. And off the top of my head, that's the best evidence I can remember that supports that Luke Weber is behind these anonymous interviews. I might have missed some stuff, but like I said, I'll have links in the description in case I missed anything, so you all can do your own research. It's believed that Luke had a crush on Dana Thomas, who worked on Gravity Falls and ultimately went on to work on the DuckTales 2017 reboot. However, she was dating Alex Hirsch at the time, and she rejected him, so I'm mostly going off of the physical evidence that's presented here. The theories, while interesting, I can't prove them because I wasn't there to see it happen, nor is there any evidence to them. And it's mostly hearsay, just like Easy Peasy's video. But I will say, those theories are more believable than Alex Hirsch bringing his personal laptop to work every day just to jerk off and not work on Gravity Falls. Come on, even a preschooler wouldn't believe that. So yeah, I was already skeptical of the video when it first came out. But yeah, now that this evidence was presented before me, this pretty much blows this whole case out of the water. People thought that this was going to be Cartoon Gate. They thought it was going to expose the animation industry for what it is. SJW propaganda trying to turn the friggin' frogs gay. Well, I'm not some Alex Jones fan who believes everything that's spoon-fed to him. I have a college degree, and I put it to the test. I like to use my critical thinking and investigation skills to find evidence and come to my own conclusions that way. But this whole thing right here is a prime example of why this country is in the shape it's in. If the theories are to be believed, some perverted schizo who hates women got cucked by them and now is enlisted revenge to try to ruin the former people he worked with, and he gained sympathy from people who are willing to listen by claiming that he got fired over political views. As anybody who's a dick to work with and gets fired for it likes to do. Newsflash, people, you don't get fired for disagreeing with everybody. You get fired because you're an asshole. That's how it works. None of this has been proven yet, but all the clues are there to show that Luke Weber is the one behind this. It's still an ongoing investigation, but based on the evidence I got, it ain't looking too good for him. So, keeping himself anonymous ultimately failed. And I gotta give 4chan a lot of credit. There can be some creepy people on that website, but when they want to, they can do a full-scale investigation, and they find all the evidence that we need to crack some cases. I applaud them for that. I don't applaud you, Easy Peasy. When you're not making hour-long videos bitching about how much you hate kid cartoons, you decide to release a video like this because you got all giddy, thinking this is what you needed to prove your point and say, "Ha! I'm right! The animation industry is full of SJWs trying to ruin our children and push their agendas," while simultaneously pushing your own goddamn agenda.
Lay out your future in general if you decide to go work for Cartoon Network or Disney TVA. First, you'll be plucked from your career of posting ugly scribbles on Tumblr to a job as a revisionist at one of these studios, where you'll spend your days getting paid pennies working in an unprofessional work environment. Most of your day will be wasted on petty bickering over what the plot should be, while the person who should be making these calls sleeps in his office. Prepare to have to tolerate people constantly making personal attacks against you over your skin color or not being gay enough, until you're eventually blacklisted for telling Darren Nafsey to go fuck herself. At that point, if you want to keep your job, you'll have to pick between two options: either pretending to be trans or sucking Alex Hirsch's cock. If you pick option number 2, you'll get to wear your herpes as a badge of honors, as you are rewarded with your own show and can finally, after working there for less than 1 year, get your own office where you can sleep while your storyboarders bicker like children about the best way to put a gay sex scene into your children's show without the censors catching on. Then, after a long day of tard wrangling a bunch of idiots and fighting off accusations of being a white supremacist for not letting them ruin your show by having the main character join the Communist Party, as you go back to your shitty alley apartment that you can hardly afford because your shitty union can't negotiate for better pay, remember, don't call this a grave. It's the future you chose.
Had you just summarized the points that your anonymous source made, I wouldn't think otherwise. And in the last minute of your goddamn video, you go on a minute-long rant and come up with all these wackadoodle conspiracy theories that the people in the animation industry are communists who are trying to spread SJW propaganda. Now those are two terms that I can never take seriously when people try to throw them at me. Communist and propaganda. That ain't what cartoons are doing. Cartoons are there to entertain anybody, kids and adults. And now we're finally seeing an influx of LGBT characters in cartoons. And I guess somebody like you can't handle that, can they? So you saw an opportunity to try to expose animation for what it is, because this guy who was blacklisted from the industry came to you and said, "Oh, you want dirt? I got dirt." And you ate it all up. You betrayed your critical thinking and skepticism in order to believe everything that this guy said. You can say all this hearsay and bullshit supposedly happened in your video all you want, but you still posted it. You gave people the idea that this crap was real. And now there are several people in the comments section of your video saying that they no longer want to work in the animation industry because of it. Was that your goal here? People betraying their dreams just because you don't like two girls kissing at the end of Adventure Time? Does that really bother you? I mean, my God, man. Showing that gay people exist is not propaganda. When are you and alt-righters gonna get that through your thick head? You're Latino, aren't you, Easy? Do you think Star vs. the Forces of Evil having a Latino family in it, is that propaganda? Is that trying to show us that Mexicans are good people and not just illegal undocumented immigrants and drug dealers? Oh my gosh. See, people, this is why I do what I do. This is why I can't stop making videos dealing with serious subjects like this. Because I believe in the truth too much. I think bullshit needs to be called out. Because as Mark Twain said, a lie can be traveling halfway around the world while the truth is still putting its shoes on. And that's not how it should be. And you know, even if this evidence didn't come out, I would still know it was nothing but a bunch of shit. Because even if you don't know enough about how the animation industry works, a lot of the points that are made in this video can be refuted with a simple Wikipedia page. And yes, I'll admit, I get tired of SJW crap like everybody else. And you know, Easy, when you say crap in your video like, "Oh, it turns out all I said about the animation industry was true and blah blah blah," that kind of refutes your point of telling the people to believe what they want to believe. And you saying that only further proves that you had an agenda behind this. You didn't care if it was right or wrong. It was just the possibility that it was right. Because you had an insider who knows it. Well, just because you have somebody who's been there doesn't mean he doesn't have his own agendas as well. And is just as capable as lying to you as people you disagree with are. And the fact that you claim there are more sources to back this up, despite the fact you only interviewed one guy, just goes to show that you can't admit that you're wrong. So, quit backpedaling and saving your legitimacy man up and say you made a mistake. Because the curtain has been pulled and we see the man behind it. And nothing proves how manly a man is than admitting when he was wrong. Because the more you try to retract, save your legitimacy, and claim your rights, the less people are going to believe you down the line. So, save what little credibility you have left, and admit what you did. Just a word of advice. I like to think you're not a bad guy, so do me a solid and prove me right. As for this topic as a whole, where have we come as a society where we think having two characters of the same gender kiss in a kid's cartoon is the downfall of our civilization? It's just a little thing. It's not propaganda. It's not trying to ruin our traditional ways. It's called progress. Because the world around us is changing, and we need to change along with it. Because the second we try to hold back and not change with the times, it's the moment we all get left behind. So as much as you want to think that you're being brainwashed for thinking SJW propaganda is okay, it just goes to show how paranoid you are. And quit hiding your innermost prejudices. Just because your daddy Trump got elected doesn't give you the right to be a dick. I hate to take this political stance towards the end of this video, but this is just a trend I'm noticing. And I'm getting sick and tired of it. Because I'm LGBT myself, and I hate being told that having characters in cartoons who represent me are being shoved there just to push agendas. No, they're not. They're put there because the creators are trying to recognize us as people. And they're trying to teach kids, and in a lot of cases, adults, that we're people. We don't choose this lifestyle. It's biological. It's in our genes. Because it ain't a lifestyle. It's who we are. So it pisses me off when fuckwads get all pissed off that they're LGBT characters in media. Because they think it's forced. Because it makes me feel like people like me don't deserve representation and are only in media just 'cause. And maybe in a lot of cases they're right. But it's still nice to have characters there to relate to. Because let me tell you, being who I am in an environment I grew up in really messed up my mind a lot. Not because I am who I am and supposedly liking two genders is a mental illness, but because I grew up in an environment where I felt like I should hate myself, that I deserved to be hated, that with a snap of a fingers, I can change and be normal. And that's a dangerous and sick mentality for a kid to grow up in. Whether you like it or not, gay people, lesbians, bisexuals, transsexuals exist. And putting characters to represent them in kids' cartoons is showing kids who might fall under those spectrums that they're not alone. That they can be functioning members of society like everybody else. So they can grow up being confident with who they are and not have to worry about being judged for who they are. And that's something that I didn't get when I was growing up. I wish I had characters like Luna Loud and Marceline when I was a kid. Because it would have showed me that there is nothing wrong with me. That who I am is who I am, and I should be proud of that. Because it's true. You all should be proud of that. So, quit with this narrative that it's a bad thing that minorities are getting representation in media. Because it ain't. In a lot of cases, I'll agree with you. It is forced. Ghostbusters 2016 is an example of that. But media like that is only coming out because we have opposition to those ideas. We're seeing a lot more LGBT people in media, and I welcome that. But you know, it's not going away. So you have one of two options. Either lay down your guns, accept the fact that there are people in this world who you might not like very much, and learn to work with them. Hide in your little alt-right corner of the internet that remembers the good old days of the 1950s that you weren't even alive to see, and have fun circle jerking to your fantasy of an all-white straight male fantasy island where you're all happy that you don't have a pussy to screw. We'll see just how not gay you are when that happens. Didn't mean to go on a little tangent there, but this is a topic I feel really passionate about. When people try to use social issues being exploited by cartoons and spin it around and make it all political propaganda. I take issue with that. Will admit, I was a little calmer in this video than I wanted to be. But, you know me. Laid back country boy. So at the end of the day, the main message I want people to get out of this is to not be so easily fooled. Don't believe anything you hear just because it sounds true. Because hearsay isn't evidence. It's hearsay. In a world where everybody's trying to push an agenda, and everybody's trying to get everybody else to think the way they do, we need critical thinkers and researchers more than anything. Because misinformation leads to lying. Lying leads to hate. Hate leads to violence. Violence leads to war. War leads to divide. And divide leads to societies collapsing. And I don't want that to happen. I love this country. I don't want to live anywhere else. So, we as Americans need to start practicing what we preach and unite together. And the best way to do that is for us to stop falling into political hype and believing everything we hear just because we agree with it. Read articles. Question things. Put on your thinking caps. This is middle school shit, folks. Do that for me, folks. Unleash the skeptic in all of you. And show these people who are trying to manipulate you that you're smarter than they think you are. As always, stay loony, my toonies.
You nigger fag lovers, and the devil is burning them for all eternity.
Excuse me.
Where are you going? Hey, what's your problem?
I'm a Catholic whore, currently enjoying Congress out of wedlock with my black Jewish boyfriend who works in a military abortion clinic. So hail Satan, and have a lovely afternoon, madam.
They looking scared, no, they don't really want none. We some southern boys with the promised strength. Ain't nobody man enough to feel the pain. And you could be next, you better give respect. Cause ain't nobody breaking this redneck. No.